time, we'd like to call to order the emergency special meeting of the Clay Community Schools Board of Trustees. Let me indicate at this time that following the agenda of a special meeting, there will be no public comment. We were here to conduct the agenda item, and the meeting will be adjourned. So at this time, we call the meeting to order. Mr. Fritz, let's discuss the revision of the Clay Community Schools ReEntry Plan.
Yes, included in the board packet is information regarding the recommendation from the Clay County Health Officer and proposed revision to the Clay Community School 2021-22 ReEntry Plan. This information will be reviewed at the board meeting, and your approval of the revision is recommended. And as we all know, this is an emergency meeting. The issue in Clay Community Schools and around our community is evolving very quickly. In July, especially early to mid-July, we're very optimistic, very positive. Plan to be back closer to normal, and really that's where we wanted to be. Late July, early August, some possible concerns were shared, but we all believed and really hoped that our reentry plan would work. We're seeing certainly an impact in our community with regard to positive cases, and it's unfortunately impacting our schools, quarantining many students and quite frankly several positive cases in our buildings. Up here, the people up front here, except for Dr. Shaw and nurse practitioner Basinger, we're all educators. They're the only two medical specialists we have up here. And we have some law enforcement background up here, some farming background, but pretty much it's educators. But unfortunately, we're required to make some medical decisions, medical recommendations, and that's a big decision on our part. State agencies and state leaders, at least from my office, I hear a dead silence. We get very few recommendations, suggestions, or help from these agencies, and that's unfortunate. I respect and really appreciate and want local control, but medical issues are out of our wheelhouse, but we have to address them. And you've heard me say before, and some of you have been to some board meetings recently, I've been here 38 years. I've seen some contentious issues arise. Usually they revolve around building projects, or which coach we're going to hire or fire, or athletics. But I've seen nothing like COVID-19, especially with the issue of masks. As I look back, and next month is the 20th anniversary of 9/11, which is hard to believe. Most people in this room, except for the kids, can remember that day. But 9/11, it did something in this country. It brought it together. More patriotism. Remember, at our local church, we had a lot more people at church we hadn't seen for a while because it brought the country together. COVID-19 has just done the opposite. It's divided our nation. Unfortunately, I see that division in our community. Neighbors against neighbors. Right now, we've even got family members against family members. And I'll tell you, it's impacting directly or indirectly our school corporation. A board member sitting up here stated last week, we have two main goals. The first one is to educate our students, and secondly, to do that in person. After the spike in our county and in Clay Community Schools, the Clay County Health Officer's recommendation was as follows, and this is the recommendation of the board. Bear with me and please listen carefully, and I'll repeat it a couple different times. I don't want you to miss this. Face coverings or masks required in the schools if Clay County is in red on the color code COVID-19 maps. Let me say it again. And there's a second part to this, so I'll go through that here in just a second. Face coverings are required in the schools if Clay County is in red on the color code COVID-19 map. Face coverings are not required during lunch, outdoor activities such as recess, and rigorous athletic and extracurricular activities. The second part of this, face coverings or masks are required in individual schools with a higher than 5% positivity rate. So if a school was 7% positivity rate, they would require masks, so it wouldn't be across the board. Let's say one of our elementaries was at 8%, they had to have masks. If another elementary was 3%, they wouldn't have to have masks. And again, the same would go during lunch, outdoor activities, and athletic and extracurricular activities. They would not be required. And again, this came from our Clay County Health Officer, and I'll tell you, he's under a lot of pressure. Our Board of Health's under a lot of pressure, and it's difficult for them as well. Couple things this does for us. One, we want to keep our kids in the building. If we get a 20% students out for illnesses, we have to shut the school down when we go to e-learning. And that can happen pretty easily. This also helps us with the close contacts. This changes from 6 feet to 3 feet. So instead of maybe quarantining, and by the way, we did a little study on that, every kid that's positive, that means 8 to 10 kids who are close contacts are out of school for 2 weeks. So that would cut that down because you're not looking now at 6 feet, only 3 feet. So that would cut that down to potentially half. This will help parents who I've heard from many who are upset because they're home because their kids are quarantined. We've had people ask, why are they quarantined? Because that's what our Indiana Department of Health tells us to do. We've reached out to the Department of Health, we've reached out to the Department of Education and the State Nurses Association, and they're all telling us the same thing. So it would allow those parents hopefully get back to work quicker because, or not at all, have to be out of work because wouldn't be as many kids home. This also provides an exit plan for this mask mandate. And I call it a mask mandate because under certain situations, because if we move out of red, if we don't have anybody above 5%, we move out of red, kids don't have to wear masks. It becomes a recommendation again. And by individual school, if we drop below 5%, masks again become optional or recommended. So I'm hoping that we move out of this pretty soon. There's some studies they're doing abroad and even down south. They're saying this is a cycle that we're in, and maybe we get this out of our system. Hopefully, move out. That's our hope. I would tell you from my office as your superintendent, the first thing I do when I come in my office every morning is I pray for our schools. I pray specifically for the safety of our students, for our staff members, and for our parents. I've had an addition to my prayer here lately. I prayed for civility, for peace, and for calm. We have some trying times we're dealing with right now. We have some trying times ahead of us. And I pray that these things get better as we move forward. Tom, I'll turn it back to you.
At this point in time, I'd ask for a motion to approve the recommendation.
What's the recommendation?
I'll read the recommendation again.
It's based on faulty.
The recommendation is included in the board packet is information regarding a recommendation from the Clay County Health Officer and proposed revision to the Clay Community School 2021-22 reentry plan. This information is being reviewed this evening, and that's just what I went over about the 2 additional bullet points. If we're in red,
So you're voting for math, right? Yep. You're a coward.
We'd like to have
Charlie, do you
order,
have that
please.
recommendation?
We'd like to
I
have
don't
order,
answer to
please.
you.
I'll
Thank
second that
you.
You answer
recommendation,
to us,
Charlie.
though.
Thank you.
So you got a
Charlie
recommendation, a second?
has made a motion. Amy
second.
has seconded the motion.
I got a negative result while I was waiting in line to get a test.
Go ahead.
Yep. Dr. Shaw.
I have a comment. As a parent, I am for freedom of choice. I cannot support or agree to this. My vote will be no.
Does anybody? Nobody knows long-term effects of these masks on our kids.
We'd like to have order, please. We would like to have order, please. Whether you agree or disagree with what the vote is,
Killing our kids. I'm not gonna apologize for standing up for my grandkids.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I understand that too. I'm
The
a
tests are faulty, you're basing your decision on
At this
faulty
point in
tests.
time, we'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor, all those in favor, raise your right hand.
Child abuse.
4 votes in favor, all those opposed.
Maybe some of these people should get.
The motion carries. meeting is adjourned.
You guys are getting voted out.
This meeting's
All of you.
adjourned.
Out. Focus to get you out of here.
Everyone in this room takes their kids out of school tomorrow.